In honor of Black History Month, we set up a series of panels with some of the city's most notable voices at Betty Shabazz School. Brandon Pope talked to our first panel and posed a very important question about Black history and its impact on today's youth. It's worth a listen.
When I talk to a lot of kids, younger kids, I'm talking 10, 11 years old, I'm not sure they exactly grasp the magnitude of what Black History Month is. I don't know if that's our education system, I don't know if that is culture in general, but I'm just wondering if you guys think that Black History Month over time, has it become watered down? Has it lost its feeling, its impact? What do you think, Jamal?
Well, you know what I think? I think that just like there's been a bill passed a couple of decades ago here in Illinois to teach Black history, but if you look at what's being taught in schools, the best thing that they're taught, or not the best, well, the only thing that they're taught is slavery, right? So they're really looking at who their ancestors were in a bad light, instead of real Black history being taught, and the great things that we've done and the great things that we have invented and built in this country.
Donnie, would you agree with that?
So I don't think we can afford for Black history to lose its significance. I used to teach high school English and was very intentional about infusing African American authors into my curriculum. I do agree with Jamal that it should be a part of the educational system, but I also think, when you think about a place like Chicago, we have tons of institutions that host face-to-face Black History Month programming.
Yeah, just look at the school we're at right now, Betty Shabazz. It's really ingrained in the culture of the school. It's beautiful
Absolutely.
to see. Lamont, what do you think?
I think as far as Black history in the school systems, I agree with with Jamal. I mean, back in my day, you had the basics, the Harriet Tubman. We had then we moved forward to a little progression of Oprah Winfrey. But like Jamal said, there's so much that we have done as an African Americans that hasn't been talked about.
Madeline, what do you think? Is it being highlighted enough in our schools?
I think that in our schools, we definitely have an issue in terms of what is being taught or not taught. But what we see is it's manifested in the fact that young people don't know their history. It's interesting to me that civil rights era was just 50 years ago, and they almost know nothing about what happened during the civil rights era or how we got to where we are. Now, when I was coming up, in school we were taught about the African American scientists, the African American literary greats, the African American inventors. We grew up learning, wow, we are great people. We are a proud people. There's a reason to be proud. And so, that whole concept of Black power and Afrocentrism resonated with our generation. And so I think that when you don't have that in the schools, when it's not being reinforced, that's where you get children 10 and 11 today not even knowing what happened during the civil rights era.
I'm probably going to get a lot of hits on trouble for this, but I think I'm agreeing, but I think in a way it starts at home. Like we were saying, if we don't teach our kids, the school has a certain responsibility, but also at home we have a certain responsibility to teach our kids.
I'm going to agree with both of my colleagues here that number one, yes, it should be in the home. It should also be taught in the home as well as the school. There are a high number of single parent households, and in the inner city where families battle all manner of challenges: poverty, crime, gangs, drugs, drug addiction. There are a lot of children who are raising themselves. So if they are not getting this knowledge in the school, then a lot of times there is nowhere else they're going to get it. And we're talking about this year being the 400th anniversary of the arrival of the first slaves on the shores of America, as well as the anniversary, January 1, was of the Emancipation Proclamation. Well, if this is a year where our kids still don't know who they are, where they came from, we're in a lot of trouble. We are not in a post-racial society, by no means.
I also think it's important not to relegate Black history to simply teaching it to Black students. I think that a big part of the reason why we're in the political, social, economic situation that we are in this country is because Americans as a whole, don't understand the contributions of African Americans. And so while I do think, we should teach Black history more in, schools where there are predominantly African American students, I think that Black history should be a part of the American canon as well. So it's kind of this both and.
And I'll agree with that. And that's really the core issue here,
Right.
that Black history is American history.
It's American
Amen.
history.
Amen.
And therefore, what we're really talking about is teaching American history to our kids, to
Right.
society's kids, to this generation, Generation X, Generation Y, Generation Z. They should all have been exposed to Black history, which is American history.
What role do we play personally in making sure that these legacies from Black history are remembered and are taught to our kids? I'll start with you.
We, as people in the community, those who are in our footsteps, mentor, right? Grab young people off of the streets and show them a better path and teach them on what our ancestors have done. Like me, I lead protests, right? As an activist, and I follow in the footsteps of so many before me, and I grab thousands of people to protest with me because and teaching them that this is what our leaders did so that we can have better legislation or better schools, or these things can actually be taught. So there's many things that I feel that we can do, but we just got to step up and do it.
Yeah, each one teach one.
Also, I think media and social media plays a powerful role in what we can do. And so kind of what you said, this idea of it being the 400th, the fact that it's the 400th anniversary, like we should be talking about that on our social media.
Lamont, what do you think?
You're right though, because one of the things, like on my station, we have Tom Joyner on there, and Tom Joyner used to say, the Black History facts of 365 days a year. That is true. I think it's like what you said, bringing out more with social media, talking about what's going on in Black history. I mean, we have a gentleman who ran for mayor. It's constantly evolving.
Amen. Modeling, what's our role?
As a journalist, most certainly I see my role as helping to elevate Black history and to expose not just my people, but all readers to Black history. A few years ago, I came up with a series during Black History Month where I interviewed just regular people about what does Black History Month meant to you. And that arose from my conviction that Black History Month had become largely this watered down symbolic. It happened after I drove past Roosevelt Road, where the Polish places are, the Polish sausage places, and noticed that there was an ad on the side of one of the of Jim's Polish sausage saying Black History Month special, discount on a Polish sausage. And that bothered me so much. I thought, this is what we've come to?
Wow. Black
History Month is being used to lure people to to buy a Polish sausage?
Wow.
Great big picture of Martin Luther King.
Wow.
Black History Month special. And I thought to myself, this is a problem. And so, yes, what is our role? Our role is when we see this, we have to do something about it.
Well, I think we're all taking a very positive step here by gathering together today and having this important dialogue. So thank you guys so much for doing this.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Great chat.
Great stuff right there from Brandon Pope. And rest assured, everybody, we're going to be airing these all month long.
Yep.
So there's going to be great conversations, very important conversations, enriching ones as well. So be sure to tune in to see what we're talking about next.